Greetings, welcome back to Game Design. This isn't really Lesson 25, I'm going to call it Lesson 25A anyway. This is where you are going to update your game one more time before you finalize your game. So in this project, you're going to add functions, and if you haven't added bounce yet, you're going to add bounce. Technically, you could have done it, you knew how to do it in 23, but I didn't show you how to do it in that video, so again, so you'll see in this one, bounce and function, depending on, of course, if you already have it or not. So this should be fairly similar to 23. You've seen all of this. You'll notice some stuff moved over here. Some of it stayed but then changed. So the counter movement for the paddle is the same. The ball wall collision is the same. We're still going to use ball velocity. The score, now this is going to take a big change. We already added the score, so we're going to keep it. So that kind of moved over as well. Now we're going to use the ball reset to a function. So if you remember from lesson 21, 23, 24, we talked about how I really want to do that. Now we're going to do that finally, right? And then we're going to add the bounce to the paddles, which is actually going to take a little bit to get, since we're not going to need that dir anymore for the paddles, for at least the X. So we'll see how this looks as we're going through. But just like last time, what Kimu, what code should I get? This is the bare minimum, so especially if you just copy what I say, then you're going to get the grid that corresponds with that. What code should I move into the function? Now, I already know that answer. I've been speaking about that for a while. But then I want you to think about what the old code is and then kind of what the new code is going to look like, right? No, it doesn't have to be the exact code, right? This is literally exact code. We can kind of pseudocode it. So I wanted to put the reset, right? This is the code that resets it. So right here is that reset code. Here's the reset code. And then what we can do is we take all that reset code, we put it into a function, and then I just reset it, right? So that's going to be the big piece of that for the function. And then we're going to build it, and we'll see what that looks like. And then, of course, you'll fill out the end in a second. So this is, let me remix this real quick because this is my actual example that I need for later. So we're going to go ahead and do the function first. That should be the easiest part. For a clean code for all this, since I have all my variables at the top and this draw function, I'm going to go and put it at the bottom. So go to functions, function my function. We are going to call it reset ball, and we're going to go ahead and essentially just grab all the code that goes into it. So this is if it hits the right-hand side, right, greater than 400. This is the reset ball code, so I'm just going to grab this, Control X, paste it. I'm going to unindent it, so Shift Tab, so now it lightens up nice and pretty. It's whining that hasn't been called yet, so let's go ahead and call it. Control C, and I'll paste it here, and then we're going to delete all of this and paste it there. So see what I just did, right? All of that code was pasted in. I don't know why this is spaced in there. That's annoying me. All right, so reset ball, missing the semicolons because I just copied that. But that's the function, right? So I already did the function. That was the easy part. But now we're going to need to do quite a bit of cleanup, right? Because we're getting rid of the dir x in order for us to bounce, right? We don't need the dir x change. So there's a few things. First of all, this is all going to go. And then we can do the bounce off command, so sprites. So all that's going to be replaced with. Again, it's important to do the order correctly. So the ball is going to bounce off, right? The ball is going to bounce off of the two paddles. So the ball is going to bounce off of L paddle and R paddle, right? The left and right paddle. Now this will also get rid of that weird sometimes where it bounced kind of on the corners. So that'll get rid of that. That's nice. Now this needs to move out, right? Because we don't need to update it every single time when we have these plus and minus. Now the Y is going to still do that, right? Because that's how I'm doing the Y. The negative bounce is still going to do that. Right? We still have the Y bounce, but the X is going to come out. So Control X. Let's clean this up a little bit. I am going to paste it down here, and we are going to get rid of the X as I promised, and then we're getting rid of the dir. All right. So now it's going to start off at 5 and just always go. And to change it, we go down to the X, and so this already does the bounce, right? This already if it's going negative, it's going to be positive, right? This bounce is already going. The piece we need to change is here with going back to the ball. So paste that. We're getting rid of the dir, and we just randomly pick one, right? So now it's going to go negative. If it picks one, it's going negative. Otherwise, it's going to go positive. Now, truly, I should make this slightly better, which I could if I want to. Since I do have the function, I don't have to do this twice. So if it randomly picks one, it'll go negative, go positive, right? Because I'm not using this function, I can make it really simple. The ball goes one direction if it gets a 1, otherwise it gets 1. So now it should have a 50% chance of, when it resets, going either direction. So when it bounces, it'll just bounce off of it, go, it doesn't matter, just bounce. That's the nice piece of the bounce. So let's run this, see if I have any errors. All right, so went off that, got a score is working. All right, here's hoping it'll shoot randomly. There we go. There we go. I might be able to get that. There we go. So the bounce works. You can see I don't have the collider anymore going on, and I'm not getting that weird little thing when it hits the edge. So bounce collision. There's my function. All right, you saw me create it, function, pull the code down into it. That's what you're going to do. And you may not have two things. Let's be clear. You might not have two things, but use something that makes sense, right? Maybe you make two functions. Like, all right, here is my paddle movement. Right paddle movement, left paddle movement, right? And you just grab all that code and stick it into a function. And then instead of having these 6 lines, it just says right paddle movement, left paddle movement. You didn't really save yourself all that long, but like I said, with some of the thing, it looks neater, right? Now you have your movement, and you can kind of change some stuff down into functions. So that's all there is to this, right? You'll go back in, what are you proud of? Why? What do you want to add? Just had this the same for mine, because eventually, again, that's what I want to get to for that final project, which is coming up. The next lesson you're going to get to is essentially doing lesson 25, right? This is lesson 25A, but doing lesson 25 by yourself, right? It's a big chunk. That's pretty much the whole week's project, just going through lesson 26 and doing all the stuff that was half done for you in lesson 24. But that's all I have for this lesson, so we'll see you next lesson.